Steve, how was your day?
My day was very interesting.
Broke your phone.
Yeah, I broke my phone. Ate some good cheese.
Oh, highlight. There we go.
Yeah, that's good. Some manchego, some Gouda, and some cheddar, I think. The last one was like an aged cheddar.
Dang. You had a whole charcuterie, huh?
I go to the Whole Foods, and they have like the little cheese like ends after they like cut cheese for all the rich people. I get to buy the little bits. And
No
they're
way.
like $1. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I get to try all sorts of cheese on the low.
That's the move.
Yeah.
We're peopling up the podcast here on the Wild Edible World podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Michael.
And I am Steve. Welcome, Dr. Liz Anna Kozik.
Kozik.
Perfect. Hello.
Perfect almost.
Yeah,
If,
almost.
if the definition of perfect was slightly flawed, but you still appreciate it,
Yeah.
then yeah, that shit was perfect.
I agree, Steve. Liz is a doctor of philosophy in environment and resources and recently published her dissertation, her comic dissertation, Repeopling the Prairie, History, Ecology, and How They Can Better Inform Prairie Science. Thanks for joining us, Liz.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. I'm so excited to have you, too. Thanks for joining on such, on kind of like short notice, too. I know I just messaged you about this like a couple days ago, but yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about with your piece, and I'm just kind of really curious about your own personal history.
Well, most of my work is centered around Prairie, as the title implies, and my long-term history is that I was never an outdoor kid. At all. I would spend, when I had to have outdoor recess time, I would sit there and pick apart pieces of grass and stare at them and be weirded out by them, and really exciting.
Okay.
But I grew up with my parents forcing me to go biking in the prairie, and I hated it, and it was the worst. But once I moved away from Illinois, I sort of started looking back at the prairie with more fondness and started doing research. You know, I had to live on the other side of the country to fully appreciate the prairie, but came back to live in Chicago, started doing prairie research, and then ended up at UW-Madison.
Which is a beautiful,
where I did my PhD.
Beautiful campus.
Yes. And famously the first prairie restoration in the world. So I got to spend a lot of time. Yes. Curtis Prairie is from I should have this exact date since I'm on a podcast, but it's like 1942-ish.
That's incredible. Wow. So
I'm a prairie nerd.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you think of like the first plant you ever what was the first plant you ever foraged?
The first plant I ever foraged. I don't know. There's service berries at a park near me, so I usually picked those. But I will say the most remarkable disappointment I've ever had in my life was the first time I had American sambucus. What's it called? Elderberry.
Oh,
I hate tomatoes.
Gotcha.
And I was like so excited about it. I have it growing in my yard, and I went through this whole phase where all I did was buy up a bunch of different berry plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so ready to have this awakening in my life. And tastes like a frickin' tomato, my enemy. I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but this would be where I swear.
I don't know if you can either, but I do all the fucking time.
Right, same. Do you think elderberry tastes like tomato?
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't ever not do stuff to it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, I've eaten, but I don't know that I've ever registered the tomato flavor. But for sure, like 99.9% of the time, I'm like adding shit to it and like turning it into a syrup or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna do it more though.
So talk a little bit about your nemesis, the tomato. You don't like the flavor of that at all?
Yeah, can't do it. Texture. Unfortunately, my first book that I did was a comic book guide to growing your own food, aka drawing 1,000 tomatoes over and over and over again.
Oh man, that's the star of the garden, you know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I get it. I can aesthetically appreciate it, but you know.
Man, I'm just scrolling through your photos and just loving every second of it. So you do all your own illustrations? Yeah?
I do.
They're absolutely beautiful. And I want a million of them tattooed all over myself.
I mean, even within the first few pages of your dissertation, I think there's a really awesome perspective you give that kind of juxtaposes. You have one full page of like talking about seeing all the players and going beyond the photographable perspectives, and then the next page it's like a whole rainbow of colors, and then further on you kind of emphasize different plants that we mentioning that you want restorations to be like remnants. I just think it's really, really beautiful work.
Look at this guy.
Thank you.
The Chicago flag that you did, freaking beautiful.
That's a while ago.
I love
that. That definitely is. It's pre-grad school.
So we met last summer in Naperville, Illinois, at the Naper settlement, where you gave like a really, really cool talk on pawpaws and like the history of pawpaws in this region of Illinois. Do you want to like kind of like hit a Cliff's Notes on that?
Yeah. I'm gonna turn that phone off real quick.
No problem.
I don't know who has landlines anymore.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Just you.
Yeah, apparently. So pawpaws in Illinois, once upon a time, if you wanted to send mail to Naperville, Illinois, you sent it to Pawpaw, Illinois. For a couple years, I could pull up the spreadsheet, but in the mid 1800s, I got an echo.
It's not coming across on us if it doesn't bother you.
Great. I will take that from the top. Beginning in around, I want to say it's like 1835-ish. If you want to send mail to Naperville, Illinois, you sent it to Pawpaw. And because the post office was positioned in a pawpaw grove. And now if you go to Naperville now, there's no, the only evidence. Yeah. Well, there is one. There's a parking lot named Pawpaw. Oh boy. And the post office itself was moved from the Pawpaw Grove to Naper Settlement, the sort of history museum of the area. And when they moved it in the 70s, they also moved a tree. And so that pawpaw tree we got to sample during my talk.
That's incredible.
That was so special. Tree. Yeah.
That was from that tree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
I believe I shared some with you too, Steve, maybe? Or maybe. I don't know. I definitely gave a few out and helped share the story of like the historical importance of that tree. And I'm not trying to like give out its location too much because it is just one tree, right? It's just the one tree there.
So it's one tree, and then I want to say in like 2005, in honor of a volunteer, someone planted another pawpaw tree right next to it.
Oh, that's
which
awesome.
Is part of why I think it produces so much freaking fruit, like a ridiculous amount of fruit, because it's pretty out in the open and right basically entwined with this other tree.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Tree.
I think I'm hitting this. I'm hitting that exact spot in your dissertation, and I just love the thoroughness of all the aerial photos, what you went through to describe like all the different border changes, local histories. It's just incredibly thorough.
That's a very generous way to put it. Yes. I do a lot of archive research, and so that's part of how I got into the Naperville pawpaws, was because I kept encountering Pawpaw, Illinois, which is actually an entirely different town further out west.
Yes, I've been to Pawpaw, Illinois, and I was devastated.
Yeah, it's a cool location. I mean, it was historically an Indian reservation, but it only lasted as like, I want to say they had like a decade and a half before the U.S. government came by and said, actually, you know what, get out.
Wow. Typical.
Which was a cool move.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, great.
Which is very nice.
Everybody
great.
Loves that.
U.S. government, big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to, I was driving through there once and saw Pawpaw Brewery, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, maybe there's like somebody, of my kin there where I can, talk about wild plants. And then I get there and the logo is of two dog paws.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
I already know where this is going.
Man.
They have no idea what the tree is. They have no idea the historical importance of the area or any of that.
I'm so sad, and I wasn't even there.
It's terrible.
That's awful.
Happens all the time. And I've actually heard it said by a lot. I think Sam Thera's talked about it sometimes when in regards to how we used to name locations based on the most prominent plants there, and how, for the most part, none of those plants are there anymore. Does that hold true to you?
I have faith there are pawpaws in Pawpaw. If you read along in the dissertation, I highlight some of the areas that have stayed forested since the 1930s and are part of the historic Pawpaw Forest. It's private property, and there are men with guns there, so I don't,
Yeah, we'll just keep that. Keep that in as like the never to be seen. But there's tons of fucking pawpaws there.
Probably,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have faith if one of you guys want to go out there. I just, solo woman alone, covered in tattoos, I attract unwanted attention.
Sure.
But there's a stream that cuts through a forest that's currently used as a maple sugaring forest. And so there's good chance in the understory there are still pawpaws.
There you go. That's how you do the math.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
Plus, your tattoos are all like prairie plants, so it would look like camouflage,
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They're all prairie plants. I hate forests.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Damn.
Drawing
Got
trees.
me there.
Hate drawing trees.
You would like take a step into the forest from the prairie, and it'd be like, like see you instantly because you're no longer camouflage.
I'm flipping through your dissertation now to see if the trees look worse.
You're comparing the trees to the plants,
to the wildflowers.
Yeah, to the wildflowers. To the what is it? The rusty patch bumblebees that I saw.
Yeah.
So cute. Damn it, I love bees so much. So I guess I guess without opening the floodgates, what is in your opinion the like why prairies play such a crucial role as opposed to like a forest or something.
In this part of Illinois, that's what they historically were. You talk about talking about Pawpaw, Illinois, it was literally like described as an island in the sea of Prarie.
Nice.
And you can get sentimental about all the lost prairie because we're at what 0.1% remaining of the Illinois prairie in Prairie State.
Yeah, we used to have like 0.2 or 0.3 until they destroyed Bell Bowl.
Yeah, that big open wound on my side.
Literally.
That is such a
I put a lot into Bell Bowl. Yeah, and so I don't know. So that's, but nothing beats the prairie in like August when the goldenrod is coming out, and that's my arms are covered in fall prairie.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
I agree. Yeah,
and delicious goldenrod.
Truly,
in particular.
Yeah, pretty fun. So the title of your dissertation, Repeopling the Prairie, I feel like that's definitely a common denominator with the messaging we try to have in this show, which is that like nature doesn't belong as a museum, that there is like an intentional misframing of history with nature. And I think any person that has any kind of anti-capitalistic curiosity has come to a conclusion that like we are being intentionally separated from nature because that kind of separation fuels purchasing of products and all this other stuff that we could probably just find outside. So I really like this. It's almost in the center of your dissertation. Restoration is about disturbance, and that humans have had companionship in the consumption or burning of prairies especially. And I also just love the tinge of humor that you still put into a lot of some of these pretty serious topics about cutting out Indigenous people's histories in the role of that they play in prairies, with the quote from the Stephen Pine fire historian where he compares he compares conservational employees essentially to the Potawatomi people of the prairie, which mean that they are like, he basically equates them to each other, and you just have like a little drawing of yourself like, are they though? I think that's so good.
It's so emblematic of an attitude that is shared by many people who perhaps unintentionally, but like absolutely betray the living Potawatomi who are still here.
Correct.
There's still people, and they're still alive, and they still have relationships with land, and like, oh my God. I think in the book I have it highlighted, and I have many swear words written next to it. This is why I can never scan any of my books for other students, because they're just full of you fucking asshole.
Well, I think you fucking asshole should become an academic standard. There's a lot of assholes throughout history.
As long as you're able to cite the sources.
You got the receipts, Liz. Yeah, exactly. You got the receipts.
Yeah. No, so part of what I do, and I have very intentional relations with, is some of the data that I work with is not mine to share. Ethnobotanical histories are not, it's not my business to share that information, but I can tell you basically this unpublished paper I'm sitting on. Conservation folks, they have this thing called coefficient of conservation, which is basically a number assigned to each plant to describe how rare it is.
Yeah, I've heard about this, yeah.
Yeah, so I compared coefficients of conservation with historical accounts of plant usage. And so like a 10, it's a 1 through 10 scale. And 10 means if you sneeze on it, if a person looks at it, this plant is going to disappear and it's too fragile and it can't be near people. Well, people were historically harvesting 10 plants. Like these plants, which are supposed to be too fragile, they can't be near people, were historically harvested for like babies' diapers.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like if that can't, those two things can't be true at the same time, right? We're basically putting these plants behind velvet ropes because they're too precious when the plant itself co-evolves with people.
And that its capability to thrive probably depended on that.
Exactly. Like these are relations, and yeah, it's very frustrating, and it's not something people want to hear in conservation.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to read Robin Wall Kimmerer as like a feel-good, oh, I'm connected with the earth type book. But then they don't want to actually change their scientific practices at all in response. Anyway.
No, absolutely.
Everyone should read Kimmerer.
Yeah, Kimmerer is, absolutely. Usually at people's top 3 in terms of like when people are seeking a more enhanced relationship with nature through foraging or just trying to understand some of those relationships. Kimmerer is incredible. I just want to point out a couple more pieces in your dissertation here that conservation often forgets people in the landscape. You basically just told that these landscapes were always human spaces. And I think that, I just love, I almost want to read it verbatim. I feel like I could just read the whole, this whole section about forgetting that harvest. There is no consistent word for that act and that relationship that we have, but gathering and removing plant biomass and then spreading it. And there's a difference between taking and tending. That's definitely something that we try to talk about on this show too, is like there's a difference between an extractive process and a practice that we have as European colonizers and settlers typically, or just kind of and what American civilization has become. But and then the difference from that to tending, which is to look after, foster, cultivate, that still includes harvesting and feeding people or making diapers. But in reality, it was always a landscape of care, intent, and human relationship.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that is lost or forgotten, or a lot of it's just lack of knowledge, and things like your part of your dissertation here that we have in front of us, or the work that you're doing on like Instagram and whatnot, and what Michael and I try to do is just pass on that knowledge or bring it back, starting to get our groove back.
Which is awesome, and I love all the work that you guys do, and I don't know, it's hopeful. I think that foraging has a great opportunity to open up these conversations, and I'm sure you guys talk about the trendiness of foraging, and maybe there are some downsides to that as well. But I sure hope that it is going to be a net positive thing.
I think so. Net positive. Yeah. You have to hope it is, right?
Yeah. Right. So much of this stuff is like generosity in sharing this information and sharing locations. And I don't know. I would love to hear from you guys. Like, how do you, the urge to gatekeep? Like, how do you negotiate, wanting to share information and invite people into the conversation versus, well, that's my site and I don't know what strangers are going to come do here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of danced that dance whenever I talk about the pawpaw tree at Napier Settlement. We don't have, I feel like in the Chicago suburbs especially, we don't have too many fruiting trees. There's a lot of sterile stands. So I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think that it's definitely a very easy thing to get lost in, right? Everyone has their spots, their patches of this and that and the other. I have 2 American persimmon trees that I know of / go to. So it's definitely easy to do it. What I like to do is if I have the opportunity to do it with people, just because, like you said, it's in theory, this gatekeeping and this passing of knowledge, it's a good thing, right? Unless people take it too far, right? So I feel like it's the best practice to do it with someone and show them and teach them about conservation. If I'm out and I see 15 pounds of chicken of the woods on a log, I'm not going to take all of it. What the hell am I going to do with 15 pounds of mushrooms, of that mushroom? So I take some, I leave some for the next person. And, I think teaching that to people and teaching responsible stewardship and tending of the land and passing on the knowledge that, people tell a lot of horror stories about, you can't harvest ramps, right? You're only supposed to take one leaf. You're not supposed to take the bulbs. You shouldn't touch them or look at them too weird because they'll disappear forever, like you said. A lot of those horror stories are there, but I mean, people don't need to look at it up like thinning carrots, So overcrowding of that thing ultimately leads to struggles in its future. So this is how we can help it out and try to regain lost knowledge that's been missing for a while. Sigh.
Well, what's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just realized this mushroom supplement I bought isn't actually made with mushrooms. It's made with something called myceliated grain?
Myceliated grain?
Oh, no!
I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, but myceliated grain is a sure sign of a poor quality mushroom supplement.
Well, dang. I wanted mushrooms, not brown rice. What should I do?
Well, you should support a small batch producer from right here in the Midwest. Keweenaw Apothecary.
Keweenaw Apothecary? Tell me more.
Keweenaw Apothecary specializes in high-quality mushroom extracts from Michigan, and they always use real mushrooms, never myceliated grain.
That sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. Where can I order?
Well, you can find them at keweenawapothecary.etsy.com. That's KEWEENAW apothecary.etsy.com. Be sure to read their many excellent reviews.
Thanks, buddy. I don't want no low-quality mushroom products from a factory. I want Keweenaw Apothecary.
Wowie wow! Wowie wow! We've got a new hot sauce for you.
It's so delicious.
It's spicy.
It's spicier for sure.
Spicier. It's called Harvest Moon, made with ghost peppers, American persimmons,
and spice bush berry.
It's gonna be great. We also have t-shirts available. Brand new t-shirts.
The best t-shirts, I think.
Baseball tees.
Scrumpers United.
If you've collected apples, if you've collected fruit, you're
welcome to the club.
You're welcome to a club. You're a scrumper. So check out our merch store, wildedibleworldpod.myshopify.com. Wowie wow! Yeah, and I think, everybody's seen or probably feel like a lot of people that are passionate about foraging have experienced and done this too, where you just get so excited about finding something for the first time that you just kind of like black out and you just like collect as much of it as possible. I don't know, as far as like sharing locations with people, I don't know, I'm kind of hesitant to even tell people where we record the podcast. So as far as gatekeeping is concerned, specific locations and things like that. Like I don't not want to share those things with people, but I feel similarly to you, Steve, where it's like there's a difference between telling someone where you can find something and then participating in that harvest together and really kind of like emulating and showing, this is not enough in this area. We need to move on somewhere else, just kind of, because some people are just like, yeah, foraging is just going out there and getting it. And it's from a pure place of pure ignorance. They really don't know better. And they sometimes don't realize, that plant was that was a 10. It was funny that I've actually heard people talk in conservation spaces. They've used those numbers with me, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. And I figured it out eventually, but I feel like that just kind of references things in the almost in a stasis of the current time and place that we're in, as opposed to juxtaposing it like you did with how populous was that plant historically, and instead of treating it like a museum, let's bring more attention to this so that there's more excitement and opportunity for that plant to thrive in conservational spaces, instead of just being like, oh, it's so rare you can't even touch it. Like, that doesn't do any good for anybody, not touching anything or not knowing about it or not learning about it. But yeah, I gatekeep like hell. Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't give a shit. I'll tell people where to find stuff.
Yeah,
Generally speaking, I
will
don't
too.
care.
No, same. Yeah.
but I just always make sure to stress, don't be a dick.
Yeah. There's always a bit of context and nuance to that kind of thing, especially with beginners. So we try.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to stick up a little for my conservation buddies here, because you brought it up. It's like we legislate based on ramps. Like, so many of the rules around harvesting comes from our relationship to ramps. It's not even our is a word. But, my friends have busted people with construction garbage bags full of ramps.
It's disgusting.
And I try to put myself in his shoes. Like, of course he's going to say no foraging, because this is what foraging looks like to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to... Besides dismantling capitalism, I don't know how to stop people from harvesting at that scale.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you?
Because it's not a question of education. It's I want to make money now.
Yes.
I know people will pay a shit ton at farmers markets for this. Therefore, it's my right.
Yeah. There almost is no fixing it, because you can't convince a person who's in desperate need that they don't need that money, and that this isn't an easy way for them to get that money, and a sure way that they know and probably have done before. And then you can't convince the conservationists that what they've seen isn't what happens as often as they probably think it is, and it probably happens more often than I think it does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, I've 100% been to ramp patches that have been absolutely devastated, like carelessly.
Yeah.
Like, somebody came in with a spade and just like tore that place up, and that's so frustrating, right?
Yeah,
so frustrating. So I get it, and that's why Michael and I were team. License it, like a fishing license. Educate, like take a course and like you do to get like a FOID card, that sort of thing. We're 100% make them earn it, right? But that's got to be like an effort between the conservationists and the foragers. There's got to be some sort of medium where you can't just... Illinois has the worst allowances for foragers.
Yeah, we're used as an example of how bad it could be with other states. So yeah, we're pretty rough out here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked. As part of my dissertation defense, I was speaking from an Illinois perspective, and that was the rules, the laws that I was most acquainted with. And one of my advisors was like, yeah, in Wisconsin, the DNR literally shares like Sam Thayer quotes and invites everybody to come out and harvest. and like it's totally a welcome thing, and everybody does it. I was like, are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Merely hours away. Truly, I was in Minnesota for a matter of 2 or 3 days, and I went to one of the state parks in their or state forest areas in their in within the state limits. I think within the city limits too, Minneapolis. And I saw more people out foraging in that 24 hours than I have ever seen out whenever I'm out and about here in Illinois. They were out there with bins, digging in the sand and stuff, collecting things. And then whenever I shout out Tim Clemens, MN Forager,
Love that guy.
went over to his place, and next door, they're outside. Families gathered around a big, storage bin, one of those big tubs, and they're taking out dandelion greens, separating the crowns from the roots and cleaning them off, and they're all just sitting there as a family doing it. Like, it is such a bigger part of the culture up there because they also have a little bit, I think, a little bit more in touch with indigenous culture there too, with a lot of they actually have reservations. I don't think we have any reservations in Illinois anymore.
We have one.
Ooh.
It just officially happened.
No way.
It's do you want me to get into it? I can get into it.
Yeah, let's go.
So what happened to Chief Wabanzi? So he got land as part of the same treaty as Pawpaw and those Indian reservations. And so he had a particular section of land, but he went to Kansas to go visit family because that's where all the Potawatomi had been moved, against their will, obviously. And while he was in Kansas, the government came in and sold his land. They just had an auction, like, whatever, goodbye, the Indian's not here, so this is ours now.
Wow.
And so finally, officially, that land has been returned to the Prairie Band Potawatomi.
That is so
it's,
oh my gosh, so heartwarming. I mean, it's terrible, so textbook of
what a bunch of jerks. But
American history textbook. But I'm glad that it's finally kind of come around. How long has this whole process taken?
Years. And part of it is that the tribe is very aware of what's the nice way to say this? Settlers being like, hey, what do you mean you own my land?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm not part of the township anymore? I'm part of a federal reservation. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that can be tough.
There's been some tension, and the tribe is trying to be friendly with everyone, which I don't envy that situation.
No, I don't either. I imagine that there is quite a bit of gymnastics that they're having to do to navigate what I'm sure people have gotten used to.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Is that in the Pawpaw region or somewhere else?
It's around Shabona Grove.
Shabona. Sorry,
Damn it! I don't know why. I just
felt.
I felt like you were gonna do that.
I just had to do the Michael Jackson thing. Sorry. That's really interesting. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I had no idea that had happened. Much respect to the Potawatomi. You said Prairie Band Potawatomi.
Yep.
Wow! Congrats to them, and land back, baby.
Land back.
So I see. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how incredible your illustrations are. Are there any other creative endeavors that you like to partake in?
Oh, I got my master's in weaving, and so I do some weaving still.
I did see some of it. I did see your cordage that you were you were going through on there. So good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Prarie is that sometimes grasses can take over, and so it's a great excuse to make cordage out on the patio.
Yeah, I definitely, I could probably scroll through. I was like stopping myself from liking everything that I came across because I was like, she's going to have like 72 likes from me. So I think I just did 1 or 2. But yeah, I know. It looks so good, right? That
Dude,
cordage.
A basket made out of buckthorn.
Yeah.
Nice.
I do. I've made a lot of fencing out of the buckthorn. And I'm not going to dox myself, but this area has a lot of buckthorn, and I've been slowly working through it and trying to make use of everything I have. And fortunately or unfortunately, I have a lot of English ivy, and so I make sure I only trim it back when I'm ready to weave with it. So it's a little overgrown right now.
By design.
Yeah. It needs some trimming, which just means fun weaving for me.
Actually, I was just scrolling through your post and I saw the the scans of the hill prairies of Illinois by Eschenfeld.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about like why those are important? Is it like kind of a snapshot of like a while back ago?
It's more so that they're just really freaking beautiful and accurate.
Very cool.
Yes, I love them. And it's really fun because I keep getting stories from people being like, oh yeah, we have that in the basement of the high school. Or, oh, my middle school science room had that on the wall. Or, because everyone has these like water stained and faded versions of them all over the state.
Oh my gosh. I pulled it up and it hit like, I've definitely seen
like
these before.
A core memory?
Yeah, core memory where it's like, these are the ecosystem of the glade or whatever. And it's got like, sure. It has every single animal featured thumbnailed at the bottom. And those are super cool. So thanks for sharing those with all of us.
Yes, thanks to the DNR who found out that I was doing this and were like, as long as you put the copyright information on it and send us the scans that you've already done, you can keep posting it.
Nice. So are these like full pixel scans so that people can
yeah.
Oh, nice. So you can make these full prints of your own.
Yep.
Awesome.
The DNR is in the process of scanning and uploading the ones that they have because they don't even have all of them anymore. They'll be going up on the Illinois Digital Archives of the state. So nice and high res.
It's so awesome.
Print them at home or print them at Kinko's or whatever people use.
Yeah, whatever people use. Staples, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Is there anything that you have going on in the near future? You got any other plans now that you got your dissertation, your doctorals approved, your Dr. Liz? What's next?
Currently, I work for the Chicago Botanic Garden as a research coordinator. I'm working with the Lawn Alternatives Project. So we're looking at finding ways to build lawn and lawn-like things with native plants. Because it's sort of reconciliation ecology, right? Where it's like we understand that people have an attachment to lawns, and while it's real cool and slogany to say kill all your lawns, blah blah blah,
right?
It's like you also can't plant a prairie in every front yard.
Exactly.
For legal reasons, for safety reasons, just for aesthetic taste reasons. People like short plants. And so we're sort of playing with all the short plants that we have natively and building lawns. So I'm doing that with the Chicago Park District and the Botanic Garden.
Building an army of short kings over there at the Botanical Garden.
We like short plants and we cannot lie, you know?
Short plants and we cannot lie.
Yes.
Man, I wish we had been... I wish I didn't know you were working at the Chicago Botanic. If I had known that, I would have aimed some questions towards the work you're doing there. That's really, really awesome. Do you have any leading candidate or like a trio for like some of your favorite plants for that kind of model?
Yeah, because my yard could use it.
Let's see. So some really wonderful plants that stay present year round Prairie Smoke is like number one. It's a real beautiful plant.
Such a cool flower too.
Yes. And stays green year round and looks good.
Love that.
Jacob's Ladder is another one that will put out green leaves year round and occupies a nice amount of space. Because part of what we found is there are species that work great, but they show up for like 5 minutes and then they're gone. And then you just have a bare dirt patch for a lawn. And
That's like my whole backyard.
That doesn't work.
between chickens, and then just like the seasonal plants. My backyard's just like barren right now. Besides the bindweed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ugh,
yeah.
Worst.
Okay, we got Prairie.
Another one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Prairie Smoke, Jacob's Ladder, and then we really like something called Antinaria, or if you search for pussy toes, it'll come up. It forms these really nice, like, carpety mats of just leafy, cute silver green.
Oh man, I'm into that.
Way cool.
Yeah,
sure. I just looked it up.
Yeah, it's a good one. There's a couple different species of it, and they hang out year round, and they sometimes change color, which, you know, lawns change color in winter too.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a good one.
Change color, like in the case of lawn, they get brown.
They get red.
That's
so they
way
end up
cooler.
red
Yeah,
and
that's way
silver.
That's
Yeah,
way
it's pretty
cooler.
cool.
I've never heard of this plant before. That's awesome.
It's a good one. It's very cute. It's hard not to baby talk around it. It's just, especially when the flowers are up, it's just like it's little kitten toes.
I love that.
Oh my god! So it actually kind of looks like little kitten toes.
Yeah, if you look up the flower itself, it's like little kitten beans.
Oh, it's so cute. Yeah.
The little beans, of course. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. If you scroll, scroll down a little bit, there's.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is great. No, this is great information because currently my lawn is been in like a change for the last 9 years that I haven't like weeded or pulled. I don't use chemicals or pesticides or anything like that. So like I got violets there this year that weren't there last year.
Yes.
And it's really cool like to see the change, like chickweed popping up next to the porch, like things like that, like things that randomly find their way in there. And then of course there's like the sow thistle that is just like looking like a heavy metal dandelion,
Yeah.
hanging out there too. But it's cool. It really is cool to see all the things that like make their way into the yard, but always looking for new things.
Yeah. Really excited to see what your work at the Botanic Garden yields. We'll have to have you back in the show next year.
I'm super pumped. I'm going to be following. Make sure you post often on your story because I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly, like I said before, it involves entering a lot of spreadsheets.
Oh, man. Well, if you need help with anything but spreadsheets, we're your guys.
Yeah. Need some hands in the dirt? We got you.
Yeah. I'm far too familiar with Google Sheets and Excel to want to do more of that.
Yeah. It's glamorous work.
Yeah.
Boots in the greenhouse, we're there.
Yeah,
we got you.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I think we'll probably wrap it up. Unless, is there any last notes that you wanted to mention about repeopling the press? Oh, I wanted to ask: are you? So you've had 2 pressing or printing so far. Are you going to do the 3rd one?
Yeah, I will. It's so much money up front, and it's so much work shipping them.
Yeah.
But it's like,
We should do an event then. We should do an event where you can sell them in person, and we will do it with you.
I mean, if you want to do another pawpaw thing or something like that, and we can all come hang out and sell you some.
We should get a bunch of people together. We should do like a thing, a bunch of like the local
foragers. Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
You could bring your conservationist pals. We could bring the boxing gloves. No, I'm just kidding. But we could have a we could have a polite adult conversation is what I meant by that. We're all adults here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I last thing to say, my most popular Tumblr post has something like 30,000 something likes, and I'll pass that on. Is a reminder to everyone, I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Don't forage on golf courses.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Don't forage.
Do not.
Don't fish. Not if you plan on doing something, with the
Yeah.
fish, don't do it.
I would say with the exception being like maybe apples or something, but make sure you wash them thoroughly. But I mean, who knows what they're spraying on the stuff? You can find apples elsewhere. Definitely pass that along. Yeah, we'd love to share that.
Yes, because I spend so much time reading about lawns. It means I have read too much about mercury-based fungicides.
Oh yeah.
That are used on golf courses. So love yourselves. Don't do that.
Mercury-based?
Yes.
Whoa.
Zoiks.
Yes.
I know. I try to talk to some of my family is big golfers. They're big golfers, and I try to talk to them about whatever they want me to go golfing with them. I'm just like, I am not the one. I'm sorry. Like, I love spending time with you, but I cannot have a good attitude while I'm out there. And then they're like, well, a lot of these golf courses nowadays, the really nice ones, they're becoming like conservational areas. They're not spraying that stuff anymore, and it's like anymore. They still had, and it's still there.
I also don't believe that.
And I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
There. It's still there.
Yep.
It's amazing. Anyway, that was my. I had to sneak it in.
Okay.
and railroads. I had some really lovely students of mine who were very, fuck capitalism. We're going to change the world. We're relating with plants. And I'm like, I love you so much. Stop eating things around railroads. My God.
Because of the brake dust?
Creosote the creosote soaked railroad ties leach into the soil. And it's just, love yourselves. Don't do that.
You heard it here, second or third.
Yeah, not near. I mean, I've heard so many stories of people finding morels near railroads, and because they are a disturbed area and kind of in that partial sun, there's some really interesting stuff that can grow in those areas. And I know people be harvesting mullein along those railroads, and they're like, medicine. Yes. And I'll double up on that one. Do not harvest by railroads. Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite places is by a railroad, and it's just devastating.
Yeah.
But
sucks.
Yeah,
land history.
Yeah. Do you know you can find that? You can usually find that kind of information on where people the histories and layouts of what certain plots of land were used for on the ILDNR website, right?
Just go to the Instagram page. I'm sure there's plenty of links.
Yeah, exactly. Liz, yes. Dr. Liz, thank you so much for hanging out and chatting with us and talking about your wonderful body of work and all the projects that you're working on.
Thank you for the adorable illustrations. They are an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10 cuteness.
Seriously.
Yeah. You're the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was wonderful to talk.
Yeah, I agree. We'll try and have you back another time, or we'll definitely be in touch if we're trying to do kind of a larger scale get together with a bunch of our guests and friends of the show and stuff. I think we could make a really fun collab.
Yes, let's do it.
Maybe make selling those books a little easier on you.
Yeah, right.
I know how it goes. I do all the shipping for the hot sauce and all that stuff, so it is kind of a second job.
Yes.
But Liz, I hope you have a great week.
You too.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Liz Kozik.
Dr. Liz. What a gal.
Yeah. So glad we got to talk to her.
Me too, dude.
She's been on the radio for a really long time. Her art is just so phenomenal. And this dissertation has sold out twice. How many dissertations can you say that about?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know of any.
My father's dissertation had 3 publications, literally 3 books were made.
Nice.
And that's it. Nobody wants to buy a book about reading about the printing press and the, history of newspaper and stuff like that. But the history of prairie ecology and human interaction, and then whenever it's done in a comic form, I mean, it's just so appealing, and it delivers the science message so incredibly well. She's an amazing scientific communicator and has kind of a real humbleness and just really easy to going. She's not like a lot of academic people I know that are kind of dry. She's got a great sense of humor.
It's a
huge
very
personality.
the dissertation, the book itself, the comic is just a really easy read for that purpose. If somebody said, "Hey, here's a nice book or pamphlet on the prairie," I would be all about it. But most people wouldn't be, right?
Sure, right.
So this is like a nice alternative, and there's beautiful pictures, and you can just tell all of the work that's gone into it, and it's taking a whole shitload of information and condensing it down into a nice digestible book.
Incredibly digestible, and a lot of work. So follow her on Chase_Prarie. We should have said that like 1,000 times. Definitely give her a follow on Instagram. She's also on the X machine.
Yes, the artist formerly known as Twitter.
The tweeter, Chase_Prarie. Oh, I'm sorry. She's Chase-Prarie. No. She's Chase_. Uh-oh. I found a typo on her dissertation.
That's I'm sure it happens to the best.
I mean, it's her Instagram tag. Yeah. But, hey, check her out. Definitely keep an eye on when she's going to be releasing the third publication of her dissertation, because it is hot to trot. It sells out literally in 5-10 minutes.
All right, folks.
You gotta be quick.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out. Love you guys. Bye.